You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And my guest today is actually a return guest who has been on the show before. And her name is Barbara Diaz de Leon. And I'm going to let Barbara introduce herself. Over to you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me, Susan. I really appreciate being here. And it's an honor to see you again and talk again. Thank you. And a little bit about myself. I became a health and wellness coach just because I had my own remarkable transformation after many, many years of undiagnosed illness, fatigue, body-wide joint pain, brain fog, digestive issues, mood imbalances, hormone imbalances, you name it. I seem to have it. And being told for over 15 years, oh, you're fine, you're fine. And I gained weight, of course, too. And it was like, eat less and exercise more. And, none of that worked. And I finally, got some proper treatment. And then I did have some improvement with that. But what it really boiled down to is what I did on the daily for myself. My doctor couldn't be here for me every day to make sure I went to bed on time and ate right and things like that on the daily. So I got very passionate about lifestyle and nutrition and mindset. And, I tried different things along the years, but it was, all just very focused on one thing like nutrition or calories or something like, things like that. And so I got very passionate about it. And I do love all things about the body and the physical health. I'm a RN too. So, I have that interest in the science end of things for sure. And with helping people. So I became a health coach and went through the Primal Health Coach Institute and also Institute for Transformational Nutrition. So I have 2 different coaching certifications. And like I said, I'm an RN and now I serve women, mainly midlife and beyond, and oftentimes with autoimmune disease too, along for the ride, which I also have. I have autoimmune disease and Lyme disease. And also had high blood pressure, was on 2 blood pressure medicines. So a lot of the women I serve, come in the way I was a few years ago. So I'm here to give them some hope and some proper strategies to actually really, make a significant change in their life and up level their lives. And they can do it. I did it in height of menopause myself. And I didn't walk into I'm 59 now. I didn't walk into my 50s well at all. I was 53 when I first started to get my health in order. So and so here I am today. And now I'm doing work that I love and I'm able to help other women get the same transformation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. Absolutely. And I think that it's so much easier, but I don't think that's the right word. It's better when you've actually gone through all of that yourself to then help people, right? Yes. And I'm sure you probably, if people don't know your story, then they're going to sit there and they're going to go, oh, well, but you look the way you look, you don't have any of those problems and you've never had it. And I have all these problems and how are you going to help me? And it's like, okay, time out.
Yes, absolutely. That's so true. It's like, how I look now. And actually now I'm also training for a bikini competition at 59 years old. I know. Actually, it was scheduled for October 21st, but it had to get postponed because I did get a hamstring glute injury. So I do need to take care of that, but it's still in progress. It's still going to happen. But a lot of people are pretty shocked when they see, my before or hear my story and see me before. They think like, I was walked into this and it's not. It really is a multifaceted approach to take. And that's where my success comes in. And that's what I share with my clients. It's really about, first of all, putting yourself first and loving yourself first, putting yourself first. And a lot of the women I work with are moms and grandmothers. And, that this is a new concept for them to actually do something for themselves. And, my role as a coach is to show them, why it's important and not to be dramatic, but, nobody wants to be taken care of when they're older, like with activities of daily living. They know that's like, I know that was my own mother's worst nightmare, that happened to her. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, so if you fill your cup now, in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and
Mm-hmm.
70s, your 80s, 90s, and 100 will be much better, like likely would be much better.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
know there's some people who can do everything wrong and then live to 99, go cut the grass that day, go to sleep and go night, night, and not wake up. And, that's how we'd all like to go, right? But that's like
Yes.
1% of the population. It's like,
Right.
don't take that gamble on your life. The things that you can
Yeah.
control, can contribute to that for good and for bad. So, you could definitely turn it around, but it teach them how to put themselves first, with self-care. And then it's also, a big thing with the women I work with. They're so fixated on prior programs, calorie restriction, over exercising, and that
Yeah.
just works against women, especially menopause and beyond. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oof, doing that chronic cardio every day, that might feel good in your brain with all the endorphins, but boy, that is working against you. And I do see that a lot. I see a lot of women who, are doing that. They're actually very fit and they're overworking out, but yet they're still on blood pressure medicine or they're still overweight.
Mm.
And they, are wondering why, because they think they're doing everything, but they're really not. You really need to
Uh-huh.
address your mindset, your lifestyle, your
Mm-hmm.
nutrition, and your movement. Like all four of
Yeah.
those pillars factor into health, which will lead to weight loss if that is your goal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's really amazing. And I've fought this a lot my whole life as well, is to put yourself first. I mean, it's not something that we as females are modeled or taught or told or anything else. And you would think even, in this day and age that it would have changed, and it hasn't. And they've done surveys and all this kind of stuff that I've seen just recently, with young women as well. And it's mind-boggling. It's
Yeah.
totally mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I just, I always tell other people as well, just like you do. It's like, if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Yeah.
trying to take care of your family, look in the mirror.
Yeah. It starts with you. You can't give what you don't have. When you
That's
become
right.
depleted, so right now, like, there's people I know that give 120% to their kids and their family. And while it feels good to give, I understand that. And it's
Yeah.
wonderful to be able to
Yeah.
serve your family and your loved ones to that
Yeah.
capacity. But if you don't dial that down, you're going to end up giving them only 40% later. And that 60% could be them literally having to help you with activities of daily living. And I know I keep going back to that, but that's how it ends up for people. And when I worked
Right.
in the clinic setting as a nurse, people in their 50s and 60s were, already in that state, but if are in your 50s and 60s, like you can turn that around. It's like, it's not, I'm definitely the message of it's not too late, but I'm also the message, the sooner the better. Like, don't put it off. Don't keep putting it off. Like, how much longer? And, yeah. And like you were saying before about with women not putting themselves first, there's, oh gosh, this comes up quite a bit. There was one particular client and she had autoimmune disease. And so the autoimmune protocol nutrition plan that I use for those types of people, was definitely necessary for her. But for the first 6 weeks of our program, we worked on mindset and stress management tools. That was it. And then when she did start the nutrition piece, she did really well and she did great. And she actually, she had rheumatoid arthritis, or has it, but it got so much better. She before couldn't even walk to the neighbor's house without being in pain and getting short of breath. And now she can do that. But the thing is, like, for 6 weeks, we had to deal with that first, because she's not going to do, that's a pretty tough nutrition plan. And I know it is because I've done it and I've needed it for myself for my Hashimoto's thyroiditis, so, and she did, did really well, but it was really that convincing. That's why the mindset piece in my program, that's a big part of it too. Like, it's just as important as the food on your plate, for sure. 100%. Yeah. And they put their sleep off, their stress management, their go. And so, I always start off simple, because the women I work with oftentimes have full-time jobs, and then they have, their kids and grandkids and, all kinds of things come up. for them all the time. And, just like I start off with really small habits because that's doable for them. So maybe a 1 to 3 minute breathing practice, or even if you could just do 3 to 5 inhales, exhales. And I would say, if someone doesn't have time to do that, then we got to talk like big, like right now, that is not going to, you're not going to make it very well. You're likely not going to be that 1% person I talked about that can do everything wrong in life and then live all their life and live really well and go to sleep one night and just not wake up. It's like, that's probably not going to be you, So yeah. And the other thing is too, is that with my nursing background, I've seen the suffering of people. The suffering isn't short either. It's not like just a week or so, or anything like that. I mean, this can go on for months and years of this suffering. And if you get into things like stage 4 kidney disease, you can't reverse that, you can help not make it worse, but like stage 3, stage 4, but so it's like, get on it now. Don't put it off any longer.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And, and I think the other thing with your program that's so good for people is that if they are, so family fixated, right? Whether it's just a husband or it's a husband and kids or it's a wife and kids, I mean, these days.
Right.
That if you can help them as well, right?
Yes.
Just by what you're doing.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, that's not helpful for you.
The modeling is just fantastic.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And so then everybody everybody does better.
I get so excited when I hear clients share, like I give them a lot of people, I don't know what the percent is, but a lot, well, way more than half of my people come to me have sugar addictions. And I had that too. So I know how to deal with this.
Most people do. I mean,
it's tough stuff. I mean, they do the studies with the mice and cocaine, and mice went after the sugar instead of the cocaine. And my father used to be a substance abuse counselor, and he said that the cocaine is harder than the alcohol. And he has, and he had his own alcoholism history. So he hasn't had a good handle on like the difficulty of this stuff. And he's like, he goes, the alcoholism's hard, but the cocaine is even harder. And yet these mice go after the sugar and not the cocaine when they make them addicted to both. But I'll give my clients like a healthy snack option, like a homemade trail mix, which is just like 3 parts nuts of whatever you want, 2 parts unsweetened coconut chips, and 1 part unsweetened dried fruit. Because dried fruit is ultra sweet, of course. And, that's at least something healthy. There's a lot of fat in there to help mitigate that blood sugar insulin response. So you get off that roller coaster with the blood sugar and going up and down. And they said their kids eat it. Like they have to make like triple batches of it because their teenage boys are eating it. I love it. I'm like, well, that's great. And that's the thing. It's like, that's like a quote, a real treat. When I think about like, oh, give them a treat, I'm thinking that's a bite of poison. It's like, I mean, I don't say that, if I'm in a gathering or something, I'm thinking, I always try to bring something different or something healthy, along. That's just as good. But yeah, it's so much fun when the kids and or the husbands will say, oh yeah, this does taste good, because a lot of them also too, unfortunately, don't have the support out the gate of their family, and they end up having to eat separately. So I help them, not separately, but differently. And so I help them navigate, like, like I have this beef sweet potato dish, and someone has someone who's a pasta lover in their family, like, okay, we'll make pasta on the side and throw that in there, like that could be theirs, yours could be without it, so, and it's still really rich because it's got sweet potatoes in it. So just things like that, but then after a while, it's interesting that their spouses will say, their or significant other, whoever their loved one is, will say, oh gosh, that looks pretty good. I think I'll do this with you, and so it's fun. Yeah. I love seeing that when it permeates into the rest of the family. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And especially the kids, because if the kids can get, excuse me, turned on to healthy stuff that tastes good,
right,
then they'll do that for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll tell my clients, when they bring a healthy dish to a gathering or a social or holiday or something, I say, just don't say it's healthy. Don't tell them what it doesn't have in it. Just leave that. Let it go.
Tell them how yummy it is.
Yeah. And you know what? They all eat it. They have to make like triple batches of it because they just love it. Like, like Brussels sprouts with bacon bits or whatever it is. Like they just love it. It's like, they don't even know, like even sometimes the autoimmune protocol foods and meals, those are super restricted. It's an elimination nutrition plan. It's not a forever thing. It's just to figure out, to heal your gut and figure out what's wrong. But if you're in the middle of doing that, plan, there's no getting
Right.
off of it. It's not like an 80-20 thing. It's really 100% adherence. Otherwise you start over again for 30 days. So they bring their autoimmune dishes and they're like, oh my gosh, they ate everything. I'm like, yeah, just don't say anything about it being quote healthy, and they're going to love it. So yeah, it is interesting that how the minds work, but back to the kids too, well, adults too, with our gut healing, that's another big part of my nutrition plan that I have people follow. It's pretty much everybody goes on a reset diet of some sort, reset nutrition plan of some sort to heal their gut. The microbiome, we're finding out more and more how marvelous it is and how important it is. And then I always think about the neurotransmitters, the serotonin and dopamine that's formed in the gut. When your gut is damaged, you're not making those. So of course you're not going to be happy or motivated. And I've had clients, and this happened to me too. It was like a veil was lifted because I, of course, got depression too on top of everything else as a result of all that stuff. And I'm not against treating depression. My gosh, definitely treat it. Get the help you need.
Yeah.
The thing is, like in my case, I got the depression because of my physical issues. So they were trying to hit the depression and not hit the physical issues, the root cause. So that was
which never would have.
Right. It would have been a Band-Aid effect, and but when they do it, it's like I'd clients say I'm happy now. And it's like, I'm not the happiness coach. I'm a health coach, but they're happy because they followed the plan and they healed their gut. And now they're making neurotransmitters. It's a physiological thing, and I have one that, that just recently got off of, or is, working with her doctor to wean off of her medications for depression. And I've had that come up before. It's not an uncommon thing. I don't push them to ever get off medicine. I stay in my lane as a health coach, but if there's anything I recommend supplement wise, I always have them get their approval of their doctor before they start it, for sure. But yeah, it's marvelous to see lots of, off of blood pressure medicines, not just the, not just the depression type meds or anxiety meds, but they start to become much more even keel. People say, oh my gosh, you seem so calm and relaxed and so happy. Like people who are close to them who feel they have liberty to say such things, and they share that with me. And it's like, it's because you're doing the work. The mindset things have a lot to do with it. Sure. That's to help you get over the potholes in the road in life when the wheels fall off the bus, really, but really where that happiness and motivation comes from is really a physiological thing. They're actually making some neurotransmitters. So they feel good. Yeah.
Oh no, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's, got what I was going to say. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Yeah. So it is so interesting when you start to pay more attention to how you feel after you eat certain foods, right? Because people, I don't know why. Well, I mean, obviously the reason why is because no one ever told them. But there are so many people who are growing up in families that don't know to make those connections. Yeah. And so it's, in my family, my mother had huge amounts of allergies, which is food allergies included, which is where I got it from. And all of my brothers got little pieces of it. We all got to share.
So the gift.
Yeah. My father was never allergic to anything in his life. He had no idea.
Of course, that gene skipped over. How convenient.
Exactly. Yeah, really, exactly. But anyways, it's just kind of interesting because I know even myself, in not eating certain foods, or I should say, if I eat certain foods, there's a couple of them, and I can't even remember because I haven't eaten them in so long, that I got really depressed from eating them.
Yeah, I believe it.
When I stopped, it all just, like, oh my God, the sun's out kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a veil's lifted, and it's amazing. And some of my clients tell me that I wrecked it for them because they'll like go off plan. That's something that they feel horrible the next day. It's not even alcohol, like it's something else. Like they had something else. And I said, well, that's your body's wisdom, and you weren't fine before. Your body tolerated it, but it just numbed everything. But believe me, your other systems, your vital organs are struggling, when you're constantly putting it under that stress. But yeah, it is amazing. And I know that happened to me too. When I first got, was about middle through my transformation, I would, go off the grid on some things. And now it's like, I believe in living an 80-20 life, like where 80% I'm fully compliant, adhering to all the great stuff. And then 20% a little bit off the grid there. But I used to do certain things like have cake or, sugary sweets or something like that during that 20% time. And I would feel so lousy the next day. It just became not worth it. That said, I do make healthy treats. I call them healthified treats. And they do have sometimes they have coconut sugar in them. They certainly have maple and honey in them, maple syrup and honey, things like that. And they're much more friendly to my body, than the processed stuff. And just the wheat flour alone, it's such a toxic product in our country these days. Like I have clients that go over to Europe and they can eat like things over there and they're fine, and they come back here and it's not. And I'm like, it's a different food. I just did a training on that in my group about wheat, and how, the problem with it is glyphosate, and the gluten is, in there is different than it is in Europe because we use a different kind of wheat here. And there was even a reference I found about Julia Childs being a bit upset about not being able to use American wheat flour for her bread because it didn't turn out for her because it was too like doughy or something from the gluten.
Yeah.
Our food is just different here. And it's so I'm all about having fun and having treats and having some food, but gosh, there's healthy versions of this stuff that you can do.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And it's well, personally, we only eat organic.
Nice.
So, there's just too much shit out there.
Yeah, exactly. That's
whether it's sprayed on or
they modified it somehow.
Right.
The seed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. All that stuff. So, so that's the first thing for us. But it's, I don't know. I mean, I know for myself, and I'm sure I probably shared this in other programs before, so people heard it, they're just going to hear it again. But I was a fat kid.
Wow.
Where the doctor put me on a diet and all that kind of stuff. And I would go up and down and up and down. And it wasn't until I was in graduate school that I actually lost the weight. I had a doctor at school. That was when universities used to have a hospital and doctors on staff for the students to go to, which they don't have anymore. And she just it was interesting because she just looked at me and she said, you don't lose the weight now, you're going to be fighting it the rest of your life.
Wow.
And I said, okay, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
So I worked with her, but not everybody has somebody like that in their life.
Yeah. It's wonderful that she crossed your path for sure. And just have someone to give them, say what needs to be said and what you need to hear, at the right time, for sure. Yeah, that does make a difference. And having that support, along the way too. Yeah. And it is very important. It is very, fat tissue is very inflammatory, and all the doctors and healthcare practitioners, whether they're holistic or conventional, they all agree that chronic inflammation is not good. Acute inflammation is great for healing, but chronic inflammation is a no-go. And and it can cause some serious things. I'm always concerned about the abdominal fat tissue, the visceral, fat tissue. But I'm really happy to hear that you came across that doctor, with that. So well done. Well done.
Oh, I know. I know. That was a long time ago too.
Yeah. And you mentioned organic food, and that's really important too. Like for sure, like I oftentimes will, refer my clients, I'll give them the environmental working groups, Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen, just, if the organic is too costly for them, definitely then go on the Clean 15 list, and if you have to have something that's on the Dirty Dozen list, make sure you get that organic, it's worth the premium. for that. And the organic stuff, at least around here in the Midwest, it's come down in price. It's still more expensive, but
Here in the
it's not
West
like it
Coast as
used to
well.
be. Yeah, it's not nearly as disastrous on your bank account like it used to
Yeah.
be. But the other thing too, to impress upon my ladies, is not only are pesticides and all that bad for you just in general, it's poison in your body, like bad enough right there. However, a lot of them are interested in weight loss too. But the thing is, like, the toxins like to reside in the fat tissue. It protects your vital organs from the pesticides. Like your brain, your heart, lungs, kidneys, so your body's doing you a favor by keeping your fat tissue, but as a result, it doesn't want to release it. So it's stubborn. So fat tissue is stubborn to release. And that's why people lose weight pretty quickly and get sick. They just flooded their body with a bunch of pesticides and toxins. And it's some serious stuff. I know some cancers, related to fat tissue and things like that too. So, it can be, a real big problem. So I really do encourage them or coffee is another thing. I know coffee and tea, I will drink organic for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Coffee's a terribly sprayed product. Yes. Yeah. So it's like, it's worth the premium. And if you go to somewhere like Costco or like we just talked about, the organic's not as bad as it used to be in terms of pricing.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. It's come down and it just shows you how mainstream it's gotten.
Yeah.
That Costco does carry so much that's organic.
And it's such reasonably priced too. And the other things too, when people make smoothies or something like that, or juicing, that's when it's critical to use organic ingredients, unless it's on that Clean 15 list, because you're pre-digesting it, blending it as a smoothie, which is great to infuse your body with fast nutrition right away. And I'm all for it. Like I don't think you should live off smoothies, but I'm okay with one a day to, increase your protein or just to get an infusion of vegetables. But when you do that, if it's not, if you, especially juicing, you really need those to be organic, because you're giving your body that straight shot. Like the fiber doesn't have time to like carry it out, especially with juicing. Like it is critical that if you juice that it's organic, it's because you have no fiber, to help escort out those toxins. So you need to be careful with the organic versus conventional. That's a very big deal for, health and weight loss. And I keep saying health and weight loss because a lot of the ladies I serve, they have a weight loss need, that they want. And they, some are like well over 100 pounds overweight, per their doctor. Wow. So it's more than just like 10, 20 pounds of stubborn weight. Yeah. And sometimes there's that too. But, they have that, but it's interesting on their health form, the application to my program. What are your goals? It's always energy, feel better, and then the weight loss. And it's like, because they're so tired and so fed up and feeling so ill, they don't even care about that anymore. And they, like I said, they could have over 100 pounds to lose, and they still write it like in that order. And those are exactly the people I serve, because like they're ready to take on their health, not just like count calories and give me a meal plan so I can drop this weight. That's a Weight Watchers thing. And I would refer you to them, then I'm not your coach, I'm about getting healthy first and developing habits so you can actually really make it a lifestyle that works in your life.
That's right. Absolutely. And the weight will come off
when
you do it. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. I love seeing the bonus things that happen to people. There's like, sometimes this might be a reflection of my intake not being thorough enough. I do ask about supplements and medications and conditions, but somebody I had was taking, antacids all the time. And and I did not know that. And she reported to me, like, I don't take antacids anymore. Again, back to the gut healing. Yeah. And she said, I'm like, I didn't even know that you were taking antacids. Like, that's a big deal, because those antacids over time, I'm not saying don't take them. You don't want a damaged esophagus. You really want to make sure, it doesn't have that regurgitation up. So if you do need to take a Tums or whatever, oh my gosh, or if your doctor prescribed it, take it. I'm not saying don't. But the problem is there's if you do it long term, you're going to have nutritional deficiencies along the way. And that's the problem with it. So, you need to up your vitamin Bs and other things like that if you take that stuff long term. So it is great to get off of it for that reason, because it's interfering with your nutrition, and not to mention your amino acid breakdown with your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, your building blocks, which, oh my gosh, over 50, if you cut back on that, that's not a good idea. Even my vegan cardiologist agrees you need a bit more protein when you're older. So
yes. Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, I mean, I end up taking pills that are hydrochloric acid just because I don't have enough acid.
Yeah,
Right.
me too. I do that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah. My digestion is a bit sluggish and I don't take as much
Yeah.
as I used to, but I still do, especially with, protein, for sure.
Hmm.
Taking it to definitely taking that to help things along the way. 100% just to get that maximal nutrition, out of it
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, otherwise I end up with a stomach ache because everything's sitting in there because there's
Mhm.
nothing to,
Mhm. Yeah,
you
and
know.
hydrochloric acid naturally goes down over 50. So it's not even like a health thing, it's an aging thing.
Yeah.
It's like it just
Yeah.
happens to everybody. And when you're over 50. And so that's why, unless there's a doctor maximum, if a person has a doctor maximum for protein, I do push the protein. I say you have to like overfill that cup because your hydrochloric acid is not breaking down those amino acids. So you kind of have to like spill over your protein cup so you can grab as many amino acids as
Hmm.
you can, because you still
Yeah.
need building blocks, even though you're aging and things are deteriorating. I don't know, what is it like when
Right.
you 30, you start to, I don't know what the age is, but
Yeah, I
but you
know.
still need healing. You
It's
still need to,
depressing. Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah. You still need to do all that. And the thing is too, like
Yeah.
bones, I think half your bones are protein. Like, and you
Oh,
talk
oh,
about women and
yeah.
osteoporosis. It's like, yeah, you need that protein unless your doctor is restricting it for some reason. And make sure you're clear
Yeah.
on that. If they are restricting it, make sure you understand it and that you agree with it. And I would even say maybe get a second opinion, on that, just because doctors didn't go to nutrition school, unless they're functional medicine or they went to some schooling beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might be, and I say this with love, a bit ignorant about it, and because they
Uh-huh.
are, they don't know
Yeah.
beyond what they know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They're not
yeah.
aware. They're not
That's
aware
a
of it.
nicer way to put it. I like that.
Yeah.
They're not aware.
Yeah.
I'll use that from
Yeah.
now on. Yes. That's a
Yeah.
much
Well, I
loving,
mean,
much more loving way to
yeah.
say it.
And that's applies to a lot of people
Mhm.
as well,
Yeah.
you know.
That's, for
Um,
sure. For sure.
yeah, but that's yeah, because I was always getting stomach aches. I mean, my
Yeah.
stomach would hurt just from
Mhm.
eating.
Mhm.
And then it
Yeah.
was like, okay, I started doing some reading and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's try doing some lemon juice first. That was the first thing I started with, a little
Yeah.
lemon juice with my meal.
That's a good
And I
start.
still, yeah, and I still
Yeah.
do that sometimes. If
Yeah.
I don't like to eat a small meal or small thing and take a hydrochloric acid pill because that's too much
Mhm.
hydrochloric acid.
Yeah.
So I just take a
Yeah.
little, take like a half a teaspoon of lemon juice.
Oh, that's perfect. So
Yeah,
good. So good. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's like our body just needs this help.
yeah.
We're working against so many different things in our environment with all the pesticides and pollutants and the water that we drink,
Mm,
and all that. Even our organic food is not as high in nutrition as it was in
right.
1950. Just so we can work with it. It sounds depressing, but you just have to be extra, intentional with your choices. And like you said, the awareness isn't there for people. And, that's a lot of my job is to help them become aware and learn, what they can do. And also, um, things like, and not just the food stuff and things like that, but it could be, sometimes I feel like I'm a time management coach because they need to fit these things into their schedule,
Yeah.
putting things in those bite-sized pieces, no pun intended, of what they can manage in their day, these small habits. I'm just a big believer of what you do, in small amounts on the daily, instead of like a big marathon on the weekend of
Yeah.
whatever it may be,
Oh
whether
God,
it's
no.
journaling or exercise or eating right. You're better off doing something good on the daily, even if it's a small thing, that
Hmm.
it has that compounding effect. There's just
Yeah.
something magical about that. And and it really can work. I run these free challenges in my Facebook group for 5 days, and it's all these small bite-sized things because everybody, number one thing I hear from my ladies is, I'm busy. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And then they're tired too, so that they really don't feel like doing it, doing what they need to
Yeah.
do in the kitchen or with movement or with a
Right.
stress management practice or something like that. So
Uh-huh.
really making it manageable. And back to the awareness, there's a lot you can do, even with a limited amount of time. There's a lot we
Hmm.
can do. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think in some ways it's easier to get something into your daily habit if you're
Yeah.
doing 5 minutes over here when you take a bathroom break or something, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you do some squats or whatever
That's
while you're
exactly what I tell them to do when you go to the bathroom. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. But I mean, you have time to do that. You have time to like knock out a few squats, or
yeah,
do a breathing practice. Yeah.
yeah, or whatever, and so you do, 8 of those things a day, and you've
Mhm.
done just about an hour at the gym.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, you have to argue too, like with some of these movements that I have, like especially my remote workers who work at a desk type sedentary job, which a
Oh
lot of them
yeah,
do. It's
I
like
know, I'm here
the
all the time.
yeah, I have to take my own advice. But the functional movements that I have them do throughout the day that
Hmm.
serves you better, as you age and get older. Things like
Hmm.
squats. Like if you stay with doing squats, like you're going to be in really great shape as an 80 and 90-year-old if you keep at that. That's a really good functional movement, and that'll serve you well. So you don't have to
Uh-huh.
do all the fancy things at the gym. I know I love going to the gym and I love doing all that stuff, but there's a lot of things you can do at home and
Yeah.
without any weights that are actually serve you better in terms of lifelong, being active and
Okay.
not falling and being healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Squats are my favorite. Squats, walking, and planks can be modified. In fact, probably
Ah,
a lot of my clients do modified, but those are like my three favorite movements for people. I think they're
yeah.
very effective, and they're doable, and they're not taxing on the body. All my cardio ladies don't really like that when I tell them to slow down and walk, but when they balance their cortisol, because of the excess cortisol from the chronic exercise, when they start quieting that down, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They start feeling better and the weight starts coming up. I'm like, that's the cortisol magic, So
Hello.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what my husband and I go for a walk every morning.
Oh,
I
nice.
thought that'll happen after this
Yeah,
one. Yesterday we did 2 miles.
nice,
We don't
nice.
we don't we just walk around the neighborhood, and we don't walk super fast. I used to walk really fast. I do power walk.
Yeah, I do
But we
pretty
don't
leisure.
do that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and he won't let me go and walk on my own because I have a tendency to trip.
Oh gosh.
We can talk about that at another time. But
Oh no.
anyways, otherwise that's why I don't get to go out anyways.
But that walking in the morning, I mean, and if you could do it in the morning, like to anybody who's listening to this or watching,
Mm.
the morning, what's nice about that, it helps you with your circadian rhythm, getting the sunshine in your eyes earlier in the day.
Okay,
So it can help you with
okay.
your sleep later, for sure. And the other thing is too, regardless of when you walk, when you go outside, you don't have to be in like, a beautiful forest preserve. It could be just down your
Mm.
block. If there's a tree, the sky is nature too. So if you live in the city, you can look out your window, look at the sky. But when you look at nature, studies have shown that your cortisol level decreases. They've tested people on this. And so
Wow.
so
How
not that
neat.
walking on a treadmill isn't beneficial. It certainly is. But if you can walk outside instead, you get way more bang for your buck with that, way more. And then if you do it in the morning on top of it, wow, that's like a triple win, for sure. With that. No, it's great that you do the walking in the morning. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That, and then we come back and have our coffee and breakfast.
perfect. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's definitely good. Yeah, I get all
Yeah.
excited when I hear about people walking in the morning. But sleep is a big deal. Like if you're not sleeping right, when my clients don't sleep right, those are the things
Mhm.
that, they need to do. They need to reset their circadian rhythms, not just
Yeah.
have a nighttime practice, but what you do at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. can make a difference to what happens to you at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh no,
for sure.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and both of us, I mean, he's probably been up for a little while. He goes to bed
Yeah.
late and gets up late. So
Okay. Yeah. Night owl. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
For sure.
exactly. Exactly. But
Yeah.
anyways. Okay, well we should excuse me, we should probably wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
did want to mention really quick that I did write a
please.
book on one of my
Yes, I was gonna
programs.
say.
Yeah,
Yes.
that it's called Feel Great in 28, and it's in publishing. It's in the process of getting published now, so it'll be ready by November 7th is our target date, for sure. And it's a great book on just get a kickstart, a 4-week kickstart on getting your health in order, nice and gently. There's no starving here. It's not a starvation zone. You're not going to go and be doing, a bunch of cardio every day. It's a nice, gentle, effective approach to kickstart your health. And so it's going to be a great book, and it's going to be ready before Christmas. So if you want to start off the new year with something, I would highly recommend that book.
And give to all your friends.
Yeah, that too. And, if you want to be on the wait list for it or find out what the status of it is, the website for it is feelgreatin28book.com. So it's FEELGREAT28book.com. So that's the website.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, and I will say the usual stuff as I get out of the sun or into the sun. I don't know what I'm doing here. Which is that neither of us are doctors, and this is not to be seen as medical advice. And with that, thank you very much for coming on, and I will see everybody next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.